Back to this horse and back to Friday. When you were on your way to Southwell, what were you imagining? What did you believe would be the sort of feeling and tone and mood of the night and how it might unfold?
Well, I wanted to see the horse have a happy time and finish a race. And, you know, I do have this habit when I talk to you of talking about sad things. But the last couple of years have been purgatory.
I don't know what that says about our conversation.
I don't know. You always want to talk about something that brings back something sad. I mean, the last 2 years have been a nightmare, really, starting with when he got sick and couldn't run in the Champion Hurdle 2 years ago. And, I mean, Nicky had this bug in the yard, but he had something rather worse. And before the bug appeared in Nicky's yard, which meant he pulled most of his horses out of Cheltenham. But he got really, really sick in his lungs. So I have to watch a Champion Hurdle, which, in all truth, I thought we'd win. I mean, I'm going to actually stop trying to spare other people's feelings. I mean, I think he's the best hurdler around, and has been for some years. I never say that because I feel it's a bit diminishing for other people, but everybody tells me he is, so I might as well say I think he is. And then, you know, the next year, then I went to Punchestown and thought we might have run there, but watched State Man win, and sorry, Joe, not being unkind. And then the next year he falls over, and I keep watching these races where I think he'll win, and he's fallen 3 times, and I don't count what happened in Ireland because the horse was just in such bad shape. But it's been absolute nightmare, the whole thing, time after time, and you get yourself up, even if you want to stay calm. If you're me, you know, I think I'm going to be really calm, I'm not going to let it affect me, and so on. It just doesn't happen. It happens without you thinking about it. It happened on Friday. I mean, here we are, a comparatively small racetrack. I had no idea there'd be a crowd like that, or that they would be so enthusiastic. I had no idea what was going to happen. And it was so overwhelming in atmosphere that as I left the paddock, I had this complete emptying feeling in my stomach, which I get every time he runs, because he's so thrilling. And I wasn't sure how it would go or how he'd cope with any part of it. I'm pleased that Oisin rode him the way he did. Got him in amongst the horses and so forth, so he learnt a lot about it. But it was explosive, and I think that for me, now I can say to everybody and anybody that's interested, you can now see what I've been going through. We've been sitting on this extraordinary horse. He is an extraordinary horse. He's super talented. It's not just talented, he's super talented, and Nicky's always said that. And everybody saw it, and so knowing that you have a horse that can perform like that, and he's sick or he keeps doing something stupid at the jumps suddenly, probably because he's too good and he just thought he could get away with anything, is my view, but anyway. So it's been frustrating. So it was a great night to kind of get rid of all that, wipe the page clean. Didn't expect it to be as exciting, thrilling, satisfying and touching as the whole thing was. It was wonderful.
And to use your expression, adrenaline fueled as well. There was a sort of tension in the air that was quite exciting, I think, and quite moving for people who were there. You mentioned Lindsey Vonn and your admiration for her, and it suddenly struck me, I wondered if Constitution Hill was the equine equivalent of Lindsey Vonn, treading the very fine line between brilliance and extreme danger.
Yeah, I suppose that's in a way. There was an American athlete who, stupidly, I can't think of her name now, who is an absolutely extraordinary hurdler with a double-barrel name. And she was a hurdler, and she also runs in the American flat relay. And I always wanted to get a picture of the two of them together because she's obviously the greatest human hurdler there's ever been, female anyway. And she's like a sort of Michael Johnson of the ladies hurdling. But yeah, I suppose it is a fine line, but you don't expect you don't expect a horse who loved jumping so much and was so good at it to suddenly completely lose his way. In that, you know, you can make a mistake once. I remember Charlie Swan telling me Isterbrak fell twice, but not like this successively. And his last time he fell, he took off with his left leg dangling down, waiting presumably to save himself, but all it did was bring him down. And I think that when he fell, it was such a shock. It's blown his mind in some way. And Nicky's now been telling everybody, I haven't actually said anything about what's been going on at Seven Barrows until this second, but he's told everybody that Yogi Breisner's been with him. And, you know, I think went right back to basics with the horse, Nico riding him all the time. And I've got to say, on videos, and it struck me now, looking back, they look like a unit in a way that latterly they haven't looked like a unit, because I think the horse has just decided to take off whenever he feels like it.
And what you don't know is whether he will be able to put those learned skills to use in this scenario. Watching him, I'm not sure you don't want to watch that again, but that was champion hurdle.
Well, there's not any very good reason to think he won't, because he was perfectly capable of doing it for years and endless amounts of schooling.
Was his brilliance not characterised by the fact that he was leaving the finest of margins? So he had that bravery, but he was getting over the jump by half an inch or an inch.
Well, I think that, I mean, I'm only talking about listening to Ruby or something on television as a commentator, but he's always said that, when I've seen him, that talking about it, that all the best hurdlers, you know, they're quick, they're close to the hurdle. That's one of their talents. They get from one side to the other in a hurry.
Yeah, they just shave.
And so they can put up better times and make it tough for everybody else. I have a theory, which I've tested on one or two trainers other than Nicky, as to what went wrong, which was that in the champion hurdle, which he won, and with a bit of luck he might already have won 3, if he hadn't been sick and made a silly mistake last year, but that he does this business about, at the time the champion hurdles run, that you get this shadow in the home straight.
Yeah.
And Annie Power had this problem jumping, and Patrick Mullins told me he was by the last hurdle and there was this shadow, and he took off the other side of the shadow, and he was quite sure he was going to fall, and he said, I saw the horse lift his front legs up in midair to get over. And he got away with that, and then he had a similar kind of jump in the Christmas hurdle the following year. But he was very exuberant up at Newcastle. And I think he just felt, this is a game, I'm so good, I can do what the hell I like, you know. And
so you think he's become lackadaisical, effectively?
I think he became overconfident, and I think he has a right to feel overconfident. Look at what he did on Friday.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's an extraordinary horse. He's right to feel overconfident because he's got the ability. But I think that when he came crashing down, and perhaps the second time, it just blew his mind somehow. And I think that he's confused about, well, this was all working so well, why not? So maybe if you go back, and he's had plenty of sessions of this schooling, it hasn't just been one visit, just going right back to basics, just popping over poles in the indoors. And they certainly look like a unit in a way where, if you look at the races lately, the horse has decided to take over regardless of circumstance, common sense, or probably however jockeys try to tell horses what to do through tiny little pressures here and things there.
So
I don't ride, so I couldn't tell you what that is.
So the obvious question, and you know, I couldn't draw you on it on Friday night, but you've had time to think about it. Nicky has fleshed it out a little bit yesterday as regards what the programme's going to be over the next week, and there's going to be a schooling session this weekend. To what extent do you really want to see him line up in the champion hurdle this year?
Well, you can figure it out for me. I'm due to go to Cheltenham on Tuesday. And if he runs, it'll be very, very hard on my heart. And if he doesn't run and something wins, and I will be absolute... No, I really don't want to sound disrespectful to
You don't? I don't think anyone's going to disagree with
Dan and anything, but
yeah.
Whatever those horses do, I mean, none of them have been, winning by 20 lengths or breaking track records or doing things. I'm going to think, well, we could have won that race. So, question is, do I want to watch a race that's hard on my head or hard on my heart? Because it's going to be hard on one of them, whichever way we go. Anyway, we're going to do the horse is going to do this schooling, and Nicky will tell me. Somebody involved in the champion hurdle, and I'm not going any further than that, called me yesterday to say how happy they were to see the horse back. And said, Nicky, I wouldn't dream of telling you what I think you should do, or Nicky, and Nicky's so experienced and brilliant with horses. But his last words to me were, I hope you run at Cheltenham, because to be honest, for anybody that wins that race, it'll be hollow without you there, because you've got the best horse. That's from somebody else who's involved in the race.
So,
nice thing to say, wasn't it?
Really nice thing to say.
And I said, gosh, that's a kind thing to say. To which he said, yeah, well, 20 or 30 years ago, I mightn't have felt that or said it, but that's how I feel today anyway, which was very sweet.
So I would infer from all that if the schooling session goes well this week, at the last important bit of schooling, that you'll be turning up.
I don't know. I'm not saying that quite, or at all. It's going to see how it does. And to be fair, the schooling that he's done so far, which has been 6 or 8 things, I think, he's done on his own, and this next time or two he'll have other horses around him. But I said to Nicky yesterday, and I've asked him, it's the 3rd weekend in a row, I've said to him, if you could make a decision now, just by yourself, what would you do? Mm. And it's been just as irritating or unconvincing, or whatever the right expression is, as talking to Keir Starmer. I mean, you go round and round and round in circles, you never get an answer to anything. So, bless him, because I know how he feels. And he's right. We are both very kind of decent people, I think. We certainly care like hell about our horses. And we don't want to see the horse fall. We don't want to see the horse do something that threatens his very existence, and we certainly don't want to do something that hurts Nico, and we don't want to do something that disappoints everybody, and most of all ourselves. But on the other hand, you can see how much the horse is loved, and people would like to see him run. I did say to Nicky yesterday, can we just agree on one thing then? Here's my suggestion, is whatever we decide about Cheltenham, let's, for the rest of this year, concentrate on a flat campaign. And if it doesn't go well, you can always, so long as, either you'll have run on Tuesday or you won't. Yeah. But either way, you could always come back and try it the following year.
Am I right in thinking, I mean, Nicky hinted at this yesterday, that if he runs in the champion hurdle, it'll be one and done. That'll be his one and only hurdle race.
Are you talking about this year or forever?
Well,
for me, I tell you what I am.
I want to know what you think. He's not my horse.
I've got a view. No, I said let's this year concentrate on the flat after a fortnight's time. Yeah. And I think that I seem to be talking an awful lot. Do you want me to carry on, or shall I be quiet for a minute?
No. I want you to keep carrying on.
I had dinner with John Ferguson, who's a dear friend of mine, a week ago on Friday. He happened to be in London with nothing to do. And he said to me at dinner, so what are you going to do if the horse wins by 10 lengths? And I said, well, he's not going to win by 10 lengths, is he? I mean, if he's looking like winning by a big margin, they'll probably go slowly and win by 3 or 4 lengths. Well, what happens if he wins by a short head? What happens if he gets beaten? I said, I haven't thought about all of that. And obviously, if you win as he did, it makes the decision that much more complex in a way. I mean, if he'd scrambled home, you'd have thought, well, my only chance of having a decent career is to try and convince Nicky to go for the champion hurdle. So it's, in a sense, made it more confusing. But he won, for me anyway, whatever, just put Tuesday aside, if he doesn't run on Tuesday, I don't see him running over hurdles again this year.
Yeah.
This year. That's 2026.
Okay, this calendar year.
But if he ran, and let's say...
He won.
If he fell, he would obviously, God forbid he does that, he would never run over hurdles again, ever. If he ran and won, it would be a hell of a swan song, and it would kind of put a few demons to bed for me, I've got to say. But I'm not saying that if things didn't go well on the flat that we mightn't come back a year in March and try and think, well, you know, let's try and defend it. I don't know. I mean, that's a long way away.
There's one more question I have for you, because you're someone who's been massively interested in flat racing as well. I mean, you went that close to winning a Breeders' Cup Classic, for God's sake, with Toast of New York. There have been lots of other nice horses along the way. If there is a race that you sort of have a sneaky fancy for running Constitution Hill in on the flat, what would it be?
Well, it wouldn't be any of the ones that are mentioned in the Racing Posters today, anyway, because somebody's mapped out a campaign for him.
Okay.
So there's a campaign.
In today's trade paper?
Listen, again, don't want to be disrespectful, but their first suggestion is going off to Musselburgh, so I don't think I'll be doing that.
What was the Musselburgh race? Oh, here we go, yeah. How Constitution Hill's flat campaign could look. The listed Goliath Cup. Thank you to the Racing Post for providing this. The Henry II at Sandown. Well, he won't stay 2 miles in the mud, will he? On the flat? This is, I think, yeah, they're right on the middle distance one. The John Porter would be the obvious starting point, April. Well, I thought the Brigadier Gerard, possibly, if you wanted to run him over 10. And they've landed you up in the Breeders' Cup turf at Keeneland. Do you fancy that?
Wouldn't mind that. I mean, listen, when I was talking to Nicky yesterday morning, he'd been talking to someone who said, well, you know, the Coronation Cup's worth £1 million or something these days. I said, well, it gets pretty damn firm. You're talking about not liking firm ground.
No, Andrew Cooper always waters well at Epsom.
Anyway, if you're asking, you asked me the question,
yes.
I'll answer it.
Go on. Which one do you want?
Here's what I think. I think we need to make a plan. We can always change it along the way. So I think that the horse should be running round about the end of August or beginning of September in either the Ebor, or there's a race at Goodwood, or in the Irish St Leger, with a view to going to Melbourne.
Okay. Okay. So you are looking at him as a stayer rather than as a middle distance horse.
Well, I think he'll stay 2 miles on the flat. The business. I mean, Nicky was the one who came out with the Ascot Gold Cup as a joke to John Gosden, who after he'd won the Champion Hurdle, they were at some lunch together. And John said, what are you going to do with the horse? And Nicky said, oh, I don't know, the Gold Cup, I think. And he said, oh, really? You're going chasing? You're going for the Cheltenham Gold Cup? He said, no, the Ascot Gold Cup. So it was a joke. But Nicky doesn't think he'll stay that 2.5 miles. OK. But Melbourne Cup, where you need that blend of speed and stamina, that's the race in your mind, isn't it? That's the ultimate goal. You're asking me today. Yes. I would like, if you said to me, what would you like to aim at? It's a decent distance away. You can plan a campaign. You know what you've got to do. You've got to get up higher up in the handicap to get in. I don't know what the optimum rating is for not be at the top. Just finish place in a group race and make sure you get enough runs and you'll be fine. But I think that's what, if you were asking me what I'd like to do, that's what I'd like to aim at. And then fingers crossed you get through all the vet checks and all that kind of stuff. Well, we know why Ethical Diamond didn't go, because he's got a screw in his leg and they wouldn't have let him run. I mean, well, I only know that because it's been in the newspaper. But he, as far as I know, doesn't have anything that would be adverse to him getting in. And Nicky will make sure that they have a... you want me to hurry up? No, I don't. Nicky will make sure that they have a video of the way he trots. This was what I wanted. Because if he, you know, he's not much of a trotter. And so these vets get very excited about, you know, looking at a horse before a race. And if they think, well, he doesn't trot very well, well, they'll have a video of how he trots normally, because he's a terrible trotter, but he seems okay when he's galloping. What I love about this is that we've ended with Keeneland's loss is Flemington's gain. Constitution Hill for the Melbourne Cup. Well, I'm saying that's just in my brain. There's a long way from my silly brain to... the actual reality of that. But the reason you're here is because we wanted to pick your silly brain rather than
for me to talk for half an hour. So,
well, you know, I don't know how Nicky feels. He's, and I think there's lots of things to think about. I mean, he's right, I think, just to finish off, because I'm sure you had enough of me. You know, he wants to think about kind ground, so I think there's races in Ireland to go for. There's a listed race, can't just remember if it's at Gowran Park or somewhere, which JP's horse ran in before he went to Melbourne and was second this year. There's obviously listed races in France you can go for where often the ground's better than here. I can see that running around on, you know, fast, flat ground mightn't be a good thing for a big horse like him. But anyway, you need to care for him because he's special. That's a great thing. And let's hope he has a long, happy time, providing occasions like Friday night. It was something special.
It really was something very special. Michael Buckley, thank you very much.
My pleasure. It's really nice to see you. Can I just quickly...
Oh, we've forgotten about the polos. Yes.
Can I quickly do an appeal?
Yes. This is important.
When we were at Newcastle for the Fighting Fifth last November, there was a very pretty girl who kept putting her thumb up and saying good luck, who was watching the race somewhere near me at Newcastle. Somebody might know her, she might be watching this race, but she came up after the race in floods of tears to tell me how much she loved the horse. We had that in common. We also had in common that we were both in tears, and gave me 3 packets of polo mints to give to the horse. And I was kind of wrapped up in my own misery at that moment. And it's bugged me ever since that I didn't get her number to invite her to come down to Seven Barrows to see the horse she loves so much. So if anybody up near Newcastle knows who this person might be, please tell her to send me an email, michael@buckley.com. Spell it in the English way, A-E-L, M-I-C-H-A-E-L, not
It's not Mehal, but at Buckley.
M-I-C-H-A-E-L @buckley.com. Send me an email. I'll get you down to Seven Barrows, and I still have the polos, and you can feed them to the horse yourself.
There you are. You could be getting an awful lot of people who say they were at Newcastle on the...
Yeah, well, I'll have to send a picture to make sure it's the right person. But, I mean, she was so sweet, and it's been bugging my head ever since that I should have got a number and had her down to see the horse.
There you are. We're going to take you all on trust. Fingers crossed. We can identify who it was who gave Michael 3 packets of polos for Constitution Hill at Newcastle on Fighting Fifth Day. Michael, thank you very much. Can't wait to see him, whether it's Tuesday in a couple of weeks or beyond. Constitution Hill is...
God willing, you'll see me at 2 weeks on Tuesday. Anyway.
Of that, I have no doubt.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.